but the Vietnam, yeah, great.
Well, thank you.
Yes, everyone would be very glad. I'll put a note on DSG about it.
Drake, your eyes widened and sparkled when you
Yes, definitely. Alberto, hello, Alberto. Evening, morning, middle of the night, whatever it is.
Yeah. Hi, hello.
And Ajahn,
Nice
are
to
you
be
here? Yes, good. Are you here, Ajahn?
Yes, สวัสดีค่ะ everyone.
สวัสดีค่ะ สวัสดีค่ะ
สวัสดีครับอาจารย์
สวัสดีค่ะอาจารย์ Good morning everyone.
Morning ค่ะ
Xin chào hả? Morning.
Xin chào morning.
Alberto, we could start with the good commentary passage that you put on DSG about listen carefully, attend carefully, because it's a good elaboration of what Ajahn stresses. Ajahn, this passage is from the commentary in Samanyapala Sutta, because as you often say, the Buddha is always advising his followers, listen carefully, attend carefully. Would you like to add more, Alberto?
Yes, it's like Ajahn says about each word has to be understood. So even because these are the words that the Buddha says so many times in many suttas, and we read them, but we don't really understand them. So it's but when Ajahn says talks about it I don't know, it makes me think about it. So I look it up the Pali, and I found a commentary, and I found the Bhikkhu Bodhi translation, and it's like it all clicks a little bit more clearer and more, and the picture gets a bit sharper and sharper, and it begins to the teachings begin to appear more clearly for what they really are, instead of what I've always been read as something like conventional attention to the listening with attention, and it's really helpful to consider the words of the truth, and not just be satisfied with the conventional meaning of it, but think about what the Buddha really meant when he spoke the word that he spoke. So attention and careful. It has to be about the present moment. It has to be about the present reality. And that's why it's so, the commentary explained that it's so deep and difficult to understand. Yeah. So thank you, John, for bringing up, for reminding us about this the depth of the teaching, which we always underestimate. Thank you.
Alberto, have you put the commentary on the DSG website or the reference to it? Would you mind?
Right, yeah. It's from Bhikkhu Bodhi, the fruit of recluseship, Samanyapala Sutta commentary from Digha Nikaya. But the words are in many suttas in Mula Pariraya Sutta, in Majjhima Nikaya, in Samyutta Nikaya, everywhere. But I found that particular sutta which was translated by Bhikkhu Bodhi and also the commentary.
I can just
Under
read
the
it out
presentation.
because it's not too long. Maybe I just read it out,
Oh, yeah,
Alberto
thank
and Anne. So, as Alberto said, the Buddha reminded us to listen carefully and attend carefully to the words. And the commentary says, here the word listen is an injunction to ward off distraction in the ear faculty. The words attend carefully are an injunction to strengthen attention, to ward off distraction in the mind faculty. The former is for preventing a distorted grasp of the phrasing, the latter for preventing a distorted grasp of the meaning. By the former, he enjoins one to listen to the Dhamma, by the latter, to retain in mind the Dhamma that has been heard, to examine it, etc. By the former, he shows this Dhamma possesses phrasing in Pali, sabi anjano, therefore it should be heard. By the latter, he shows it possesses meaning, sato in Pali, therefore it should be carefully attended to. Or else the word carefully, sadukam, can be strewed with both words, listen and attend thus. Since the Dhamma is deep in doctrine and deep in teaching, listen carefully. Since it is deep in meaning and deep in penetration, attend to it carefully. As about Alberto said, it's full of good meaning. It's not enough just to hear the words, but there has to be the very careful attending, the wise attention and understanding of what is said or what is read. Like as Alberto said, we can read the words and consider carefully the meaning. So whether it is by listening or reading, there has to be the very careful attending. And perhaps Ajahn would like to add some more comments. And I just say hello and welcome to everyone else who just joined. Lucy, glad to see you here. Zita, Hung, Meta, Ha. And if anyone uses many Pali terms, please translate for the benefit of those who are newer and don't understand them. Please carry on, Ajahn.
When there's no understanding of the truth that Buddha taught, no one can understand how subtle this moment is, because each word of the Buddha just points to the truth of what is there so close right now, every moment. If we just stay in word about Dhamma, it's no understanding of that which is now appearing. That's why what he taught just about that which is now appears, to understand the very subtle truth of it. Because it is now appearing, no understanding. Even so close, this very moment is there. But the subtlety of realities are covered up by ignorance and no word of truth to open it up that is there as just a reality. In life, eons and eons ago, the idea of self is accumulated, how long that it is asava, didasava with avijjasava, even after seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. That's why begin to understand the truth of what is there appearing. How come to be object of ignorance and attachment? It's I who see, no I, only seeing, but no understanding the truth of that which arises to experience. Both arises, but the rupa which is seen has to arise before seeing. That's why the truth of it is so very sudden. Each word condition the understanding that actually no word, not just no I, no word at all. Because if nothing arises at all, there cannot be the idea of word or something that as we take it for a car, a hand, a leg, and so on. That's why the truth is so very subtle to understand that which arises and falls away instantly from moment to moment. What appears is just the nimitta, the form or the shape or the what is there as something all the time. For example, right now, at moment of seeing, no understanding of what is seen is that only which can be seen. It cannot be anything else at all. Only that which is now seen, a reality in life, no matter this life, other life, or any time, when there is a reality which is conditioned to arise to see, listen attentionally, carefully, that what is that is conditioned to arise and then fall away instantly. So how can there be anything, anyone at all? It's so deep that even is there right now, but no understanding of it. So it's covered up by the idea and ignorance and attachment to that which is seen or heard and so on in life from life to life. So how much ignorance is accumulated, has been accumulated. See, is it so deep? Because it's so close. It's now this very moment. Even is there no understanding at all of its truth. That's why Buddha said, listen carefully, attentively, see, to that which is now heard about the truth, to have firm confidence of the truth, that it can be realized, but it's so deep. So Panya just begin to understand each word about the truth, like sati, vitaka, feeling, and so on. Just is in a moment, from moment to moment, which can be known when there is understanding of the truth only. But when there is no understanding of the nature of that, how can there be no one, no I, anatta? That's why each word of the teachings should be kept in mind firmly. Dhamma, anything, any reality, no matter what, is anatta. No one, no thing at all. It's just a reality which has its own characteristic, that it cannot be any other reality at all. For example, there is a reality now. It has a reason to see, and this is this very moment, and then gone. But what are conditions for seeing, and what is the condition for the color, that which is seen, arise? Without any condition, nothing can arise at all. That's why the deep of the teachings of the Buddha just have to be listened or attend very carefully to understand the truth that is there unknown. So right understanding begin to understand the subtlety of all dhammas. That's why only understanding can open up the truth of any reality, which is their condition to arise and then gone. Is that true? And just understanding the truth of it is the confidence of the truth. Understand that it cannot be changed, it cannot be done. What one is, I'm doing something, it's there already, a reason, condition, such idea about that very moment. See? So understand that deeply, teaching the deeply truth, the very deep truth, can let go the idea, gradually, the idea of self. Right now, it's the beginning to understand the truth, to be firmly as pariyati, never change. No one seeing is seeing a reality which arises by conditions. Before seeing, before nothing arises, what is there? By condition is there unknown until it's known. See, so deep, any moment can be realized as is there and then gone by nimitta, the succession of the rapidity of just that which is there as one quality or one reality, while there are so many realities in between. So right understand that that's the subtlety of reality. And that is the way to let go the idea of I sitting, doing, thinking, trying to do this and that. Is it so very profound? Is it so very deep? But it's there as it is, which can be learned to understand it from hearing, considering, attending carefully, very carefully, whether it's true or not. And that moment of understanding is beginning of the path, letting go the very, very deep idea of self. Without right understanding, how can there be the understanding that there's no meaning? There's nothing, nothing, because what is there is conditioned to arise and then gone forever, never to return at all. So thinking ignorance about that on and on and on, endlessly, see? That's why the teaching, the understanding only can begin to understand and letting go ignorance and attachment. Very little comparing to the accumulation in years and years ago of ignorance and attachment and all other kinds of realities. Just covered up the truth all the time. That's why only understanding can let go the idea of self. Patience there. See, to begin to attend to the characteristic of that which is now there, correctly, wisely, or incorrect, or unwisely. See, depending on accumulation from moment to moment. That is the way to let go. The path begins. The first round of understanding the truth. Understand what is there, which at that moment begin to be aware with understanding of that which hasn't been aware of at all, that which has been known the truth at all, to begin to understand it. It is just as we heard from the teaching of the Buddha, the enlightenment. At that moment, the witness of the truth, the moment of understanding the truth is there. Otherwise, who can understand the teaching of the Buddha? Buddha taught very deep. The other thing, the one who heard it thought that it's so very simple, just try to do and then realize the truth. No understanding at all. And no understanding why one just sits to do something, to understand that which is now here, and then at that moment it's there, unknown. That's why listen carefully, attentively to the truth, to let go ignorance and attachment. How long that it has been accumulated, how long to develop the understanding to let go. Avijja, ignorance, clinging, attachment to wrong understanding, taking it instantly as something because of the successions that appear by nimitta, shape and form. Like now, how deep it is when there is considering about the truth. It's so true that it is not as we have heard yet. It seems like it's there all the time, see, all the time. And so many, many things in the world, in life, from life to life. That's why paying respect to the Buddha, when and how, at moment and listening to the truth. Respect the truth. Nobody can change it. It's just that which it's not that anymore. As soon as has arisen, it's far away instant. It's a truth. And that's the way Satya Barami develops. To be Adidana, so firm, not to change, and it can condition moment of just be aware of what is there now. Naturally, by conditions, that's the way to show the anatthaness of the truth to be known, little by little. Is that true? Right understanding of the truth is the witness of the teaching of the truth of the Buddha. So now, whatever is there can be learned, reading about it, consider it. There are so many realities in life unknown. Ignorance is not understanding. Attachment, where is it? Right now, unknowingly, stage by stage, until it's there as I like it, but at that moment, no I, but it's taken for I. Ask, but for how long? That's why we read or listen in the past for those who listen to the teachings attentively, wisely to understand the truth of each word or Dhammas. If there's no understanding of Dhamma, it's something all the time. But in truth, all, every reality which is there unknown or anatta, and learn to understand the meaning of anatta. It's there already, right now. How can it be something or someone? Because it has arisen by condition. That's all. If there's no condition for whatever arises, there cannot be that moment of experiencing that which is there. And now begin to understand the differences between avijja, ignorance, and panya, right understanding. Quite different, no understanding of seeing at all, and then hearing about it. The truth is that it's not that which is seen, but sure, but no thought about it, if we have heard about it at all. That's why now, that which appears is anatta. The seeing, that which sees it is anatta. So many anatta, or dhammas are anatta. Why is anatta? It is conditioned to arise without the eye, without that which impinges on it. They cannot be seen at all. So whatever is conditioned to arise, no one there at all. Only that reality arising and falling wins. No other thing, only right understanding of that which appears little by little to understand that it's beyond expectation. It's there already. every reality is anatta. No one can make it rise. It's there by conditions, and it's not always there, just rise and falls in split seconds. And it can be in the next moment to arise and fall. And this is life. And what is birth, and what is death, and what is there before death, after birth, and so on. So short or long, by conditions. How long we take life as very short and very long, all by conditions. But every moment is not permanent. Khanika mara, momentarily death, never to return at all. And if it's not this way, how can there be letting go? So very subtle of that which is so subtle. Our dhammas are so subtle. And that is the way not to do anything, but understanding from hearing and considering by conditions. Right now, by conditions, everything. Until it's clear, begin to understand it, which hasn't been understood before. I'm very clear, so clear in a moment, split second of a moment, according to understanding. And this is the way to let go. Ignorance, because there is ignorance all day. And how can it be letting go? Without any understanding, it's more and more and more. So right understanding, not I, right understanding understands the past. The only past. So very subtle, because it's one of the Four Noble Truths. The first round, without the first round, how can it develop on and on, naturally, secretly, by conditions? Very hardly be known, but it's there so true that it's gone right now. And this understanding, letting go, the idea of self, who is listening or who is trying to do something or anything in order to realize the truth, that is impossible. That I am doing, because that is the idea of I, no understanding the truth, that actually what is there that we can say that it's not I. Different realities, citta and cetasikas and rupas. Why Buddha taught for 45 years? Just to have people understand the truth of what is there now. Because it's there already, anatta. Is this what Buddha said in 45 years?
Yes, and especially the point that you mentioned earlier, that the way to show respect to the Buddha and his teachings is not by some particular activity like having a statue or going to the temple or lighting incense, but listening carefully, understanding the meaning, developing the understanding right now. This is a way of showing true respect. And I'd like to ask Drake or Lucy, do you have any comments or anything you would like to mention or ask about? Or anyone else?
Just quickly, I have, what are the 3 rounds of the Four Noble Truths? I
I'm
forgot.
glad. Yes, I'm glad actually you asked, because it's a good chance to just mention for those who haven't heard about them. So I think everyone here has heard about the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth refers to dukkha. Whatever arises and falls away in life is dukkha. It's unsatisfactory. It doesn't last at all, but there's clinging all the time to seeing now, what is seen now, hearing, sound. But actually, whatever arises and gone is not worth clinging to for an instant. This is the deep meaning of dukkha, that which is impermanent. And the second truth refers to the cause of dukkha. So the reason there is dukkha again and again and again, the rising and falling away of realities again and again, is because of clinging. Without clinging, there would be no new life. Without clinging with ignorance, there wouldn't be any more becoming. But because of clinging, life carries on, life after life, and conditions the arising and falling away of realities again and again. Usually people think of life as so great and wonderful, but actually each moment is unsatisfactory. It's dukkha. And the third noble truth refers to the end, the eradication of ignorance and attachment, the end of life in samsara, the full realization of nibbana, no more becoming at all. And the fourth noble truth, this is all very briefly, refers to the way, the path that leads to the understanding and eradication of defilements. And this is the Eightfold Path, beginning with right understanding, which we emphasize so much. And the three rounds that Azita picked up on refer, the first one, Satya Jnana. Satya means truthfulness. Jnana means understanding. It's another word for panya. And it refers to the firm intellectual understanding of the Four Noble Truths. If one has never heard about the unsatisfactory nature of impermanent realities, there wouldn't be any wise considering about these different realities. And the same with the path. If there'd been no hearing and considering about understanding and the other path factors that arise with it, support it, there couldn't be any development of the path. If we'd never heard about dharmas as anatta, which Ajahn was emphasizing, no one there, no thing there couldn't be the development of the path. So the first round is the firm intellectual understanding of these truths. And without this firm intellectual understanding, there cannot be the next round, the Kitcha Jnana. Kitcha means function or task, Jnana, understanding, wisdom. And this refers to the direct understanding of dharmas, the direct understanding of the truths, the direct understanding of seeing now an impermanent reality that arises and falls away, no one that sees what is seen now, a reality that doesn't experience anything, nothing that is seen, just what is visible, just color, which arises and falls away. So the Kitcha Jnana is the direct understanding conditioned by the intellectual understanding about the truths, and especially about the nature of realities and the way, the path. And the Kitcha Jnana, the direct understanding, leads to the third round, which is the Kata Jnana. Kata means done, what has been done, and it refers to the understanding that has been developed to the degree of insight and enlightenment, eradicating defilements. Usually people, when they hear about Buddhism, they just want to jump to realization and experiencing Nibbana and the eradication of defilements. But actually we learn, as we've been hearing, the teachings are so subtle, the understanding of realities is so deep and subtle. So there has to be all the wise considering we've been reminded about carefully in order to condition the firm considering in the first place, and only that can condition the deeper understanding, the direct understanding of these four noble truths. Is that a bit?
Yes,
clear?
thanks, Sarah. Just one other question. So with Kitchenyana, it's direct understanding of, for example, seeing, direct understanding of a reality now. And then Katanyana is basically just a more developed understanding. Is that correct?
Yes, it particularly refers to the Vipassana jnanas, the understanding of the degree of insight and enlightenment.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yes. So it's an
The understanding that has developed. Yes.
I need
Yes.
to check the diary.
Can't
Can I
hear
ask
you.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, there's a bit of interference as Jonathan had a
Oh, right,
phone call.
okay.
So you're getting a bit of his phone call coming through, I think.
Okay.
Daily life, as I was saying to Lucy this morning, Lucy was mentioning her weaving while she's listening. I said, it's fine. I sometimes have to pop down to turn the laundry on or off.
Not me on the hot this time. I was in a Zoom meeting, so
I actually have a question. Is that okay?
Yes, I've finished. Go ahead.
Are you
Lucy.
okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Pardon my ignorance, but I'm curious about the third noble truth, the eradication of ignorance and clinging and attachment and so on. So what is there then if we've got this kind of ignorant understanding that life is great and, you know, acquiring material possessions is comfort and all these things, then what is a world without those things? What does that look like? Why is that any better than, you know, eating beautiful food and going for a swim in the ocean and going to daily yoga practice, seeing you lovely people? For example, I struggle a little bit because of my ignorance, that I struggle a little bit with that transition of thinking, that kind of, I feel very kind of stuck in that, well, what is there? What is that? What is after the third noble? I mean, I know it's about the path and the eightfold path, but is this unrealistic in a world that's so, I mean, look at the world that we live in. It's just crazy. It's so chaotic. It almost prevents, I just see you know, unlimited barriers to, you know, it's not like, you know, we're sitting in the hills of, you know, Tibet or India or anything like that. This environment that's conducive to this type of practice. You know, we've got school runs and elderly sick parents and financially, I don't know, I just seem to be stuck in my thinking on that. Does that make sense?
I'll say a few comments and then maybe Ajahn or others may. Yeah. So the first point is that when we're talking about the first noble truth and the careful considering, it all refers to this very moment. So seeing now is just the same whether we're seeing pleasant foods and beaches, or whether we're seeing ugly scenery and so on, whether we're on school runs and helping parents, or whether we're relaxing with our friends or in a yoga class, it's still just seeing. Life is just one moment of experiencing at a time. Seeing now just sees what is visible. And then there's endless thinking again and again about the visible objects that have been seen, the sounds that have been heard, the tastes that have been tasted, because of forgetting about life just existing in one moment now. So when there's thinking about the school run, thinking about the crazy world, thinking about the food we're going to have for lunch or have just eaten, it's just the world of thinking about different ideas, different stories. So the point is, the path is understanding what is true. Seeing is real. What is seen is real. Thinking is real. But the school run, the parents, the war in here or there, the swimming, these are all ideas, stories, fantasies, different from the actual truth of what exists right at this very moment. So this is why the Buddha's teachings are universal, for rich or poor, or those in wearing robes, or those living comfortably at home, because the realities are just the same. Seeing is always just seeing. Hearing is just hearing. Clinging is clinging. Aversion is aversion. Ignorance is ignorance. Understanding is understanding. So the truths remain the same, no matter the circumstances. And this is why the teachings are so deep, because they always come back to the truth at this moment, no matter the lifestyle.
Thank you.
Let's see if anyone else would like. Anne, would you like to add any comments, or Asita?
Yes, just in that, what you've said, Sarah, in that coming back to this present moment, I think that's the baseline that it all hangs on, kind of thing, that all of the other stuff, the beach, the wars, blah, blah, that's the added on bit, but the baseline is just this present moment of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, and then just thinking about all the things that were experienced. And then it gets bigger and bigger. We make up stories, but that baseline is, for me, the very most important of all I've heard, just this present moment. And if there's not the knowing of that, and at first it's intellectual knowing, and with listening, with that listening carefully, as the wonderful Alberto brought up earlier, because it's a good one. To listen carefully to the truth of now is just the best thing. And understanding is classed as the most precious thing in all of samsara. So I find that a reason to go with understanding. Yeah, that's all I need to say.
I think it's so easy to try to place what we're learning into our conventional lives in terms of, well, why shouldn't I enjoy my lovely meals, etc. The Dhamma goes beyond that, far beyond that. So the conventional is basically thinking, because it's all based on the realities, the citta and the rupa, the physical realities. So I find it takes a while to sort of lose the conventional in terms, when you're thinking about the Dhamma. But I think to really understand the subtlety and depth of it, one needs to, as Sarah said, go back to now, what's happening now. Because it would be really easy to say, well, I'm sitting listening to Dhamma and I'm seeing you guys. And yet that's the thinking, conceptual part that comes way after, when moments of seeing arise. And then there are moments of, well, there are a number of moments of seeing that intersperse with other things, but the images form in the nimitta, as we said, and then from there, they sort of memory kicks in and that kind of thing. And that's when you get the stories. So it's hard to distinguish, I know, but that's why we listen and need to know that the important thing is the understanding at this moment.
Thank you.
Drake, do you have any comments you would like to share with Lucy? I don't think you've met Lucy before. Lucy lives near me in
Hi.
Sydney. Drake is in Canada.
Hi, Drake.
Sorry, in the States, in Oregon. And Drake has joined us quite recently too. Anything you would like to share with Lucy about the significance?
I mean,
Hi.
for me, at some point, it's dawned on me that as Ajahn was saying, that what arises is conditioned and unselected. So it's like what we actually experience is not a choice, but it's determined by conditions. And because of that fundamental ignorance that it's inside of me, that I keep clinging to this notion of a self, and then there's this attachment to worldly objects, like objects for power and wealth, and the entanglement that comes, and all the deep harmful karma that I'm compelled to generate. I just know what it happens before I can stop it, in the form of like anger and aversion. And so this process of being predetermined and bound up by ignorance and craving, and then producing the causes of future suffering in this life and in the next, it's like it's a real predicament, because it's when I learned about right view, the first thing that Bhikkhu Bodhi and Ledi Sayadaw was describing was like there's this life and the next, and we're the owners of our karmas, the heirs of our karmas. Whatever we do for good or for ill, of that we will be heirs. And so once I accepted that, that the experiencing the consequences of your volitional acts, even just mentally and emotionally, is like, and it's preconditioned. So it's like, it happens so fast, it's already there. Like, so it's like, the emotion arises before you have a choice. And then you've already created the unwholesome karma of being angry. So it's kind of like, okay, this is a real predicament to be bound up in. And like the personality is like, the personality in the body will fall away, and that's fine. And then, I think that whatever beings, whatever personalities inhabited the consciousness before this mind body came in, I'm grateful for them for whatever, efforts they made to purify their defilements and, generate good karma and develop understanding. But I kind of feel bad about the next succession, because it's like, it's hard to learn, it's hard to not like make things worse instead of better. And sometimes when you're like when everything's going great, you don't really notice how vulnerable you are to being, I didn't, it's like you can kind of enjoy life for a while and think you're on the right track, but sooner or later, Mother Nature has a way of, presenting you with things you don't like. And if you get angry about that, it's going to cause some trouble for sure.
Well said, Drake. And can I just add that in terms of doing better than your predecessors or worse than your predecessors. What do we mean by better or worse? Is it how we behave, or is it getting closer to the truth of understanding the true meaning of the Buddha's teaching? Because I think that's the important thing, the most important thing one can pass on to one's successor, to follow your analogy, not the conduct and habits that one has cultivated in a given lifetime, but the understanding that will eventually transcend any form of bad behavior, to bring release and escape from repeat of the same thing. In other words, ultimately there'll be no successor to pass things on to. Now, the point is that one can't perfect the behavior. One can't achieve that by perfecting behavior in the sense of just focusing on the conduct or even the mental states. That can only be achieved by the understanding that penetrates to the truth of life in samsara. And in that respect, getting back to Lucy's question or comment, which I only came in on the tail of, so apologies if I've assumed things that you didn't say, Lucy, and apologies to all for the interruption earlier, but something just came up. The truth of this life, the truths of this life are the same whatever the situation. Just as the truths of life are the same now as they were in the Buddha's time, so the truths of life are the same now here in this situation as they would be in any other situation in which we find ourselves in this lifetime. And so the development of the understanding cannot be dependent on the situation. The understanding has to develop regardless of the situation. So if we start off with an idea of there being a better situation in which that understanding can develop, then we're off on the wrong foot for a start, because we're looking more at the superficial level of conduct, or being calm, or being nice, this sort of thing. We're focusing on kusala and akusala rather than on the development of understanding of the true nature of the present moment reality. Thanks.
And I think it helps to remember that the conflicts, the problems, the dilemmas in life are all mind created because of clinging to oneself in particular, clinging to me, clinging to my life, my behavior, my situation. Without clinging and ignorance, no conflict, no dilemma, no problem. So the problem is not in the situation around, the people needing help, the crazy world, the elderly parents, the food one is eating, being here or there. It's in the thinking with ignorance, thinking with attachment, thinking with aversion, conditioned by the ignorance, all back to here and now at each moment.
Thank you. Can I ask a question? Oh, sorry.
Go on. Go
Sorry.
on,
I was
Lucy.
just going to say, I know it's nirvana, but is there another Pali term for that state, like that absolute state, that one that's far beyond the clinging and so it's the letting go of the ignorance? And
it depends what you mean by that state.
I guess once we move into the fourth noble truth, I was just wondering if there was what I mean by state is more that that we've kind of understood the like our conditions and the realities and so on, and we've
Right.
moved beyond.
Understood the true nature of
We've
life.
understood the true nature of life and phenomena, etc. So, is it the Pali term? What's the Pali term for that?
Well, you're thinking, I think, of Nibbana, which is the Pali way of saying nirvana.
Okay.
But
yes.
It's not so much a state that is then passed into and resided in, but it's only a momentary experiencing. It's the object of the moment of enlightenment consciousness. And when, after full enlightenment has been attained and one comes to the end of that lifespan, there's no continuation of anything at all as we know it. So no consciousness continues, no mental states continue. So it's the cessation of everything that we know of. So some people have the idea that one passes into Nibbana and lives happily ever after there or something like that. No, it is death without rebirth, rather than the opposite of how we were brought up to think of the next life being the last everlasting life. Here, it's everlasting death, or death and no afterlife.
And it is through understanding the nature, the truth of realities as dukkha, as we mentioned, unsatisfactory, and understanding deeper and deeper the danger of what is conditioned to rise and fall away, that the full realization of Nibbana, no more becoming, no more arising of that which is unsatisfactory, is what is considered to be the perfect result, to put it in simple words, because now what arises and falls away is actually full, foul, and unsatisfactory, but it will continue on. There will be the continuation of experiencing life after life after life until the truth of the nature of realities has been fully realized and all defilements eradicated, and only then will there be no more conditions for life to continue on. But it has to start with the understanding of what is true, what is real now.
And I just wanted to supplement something I said earlier when I mentioned the universal truths and how they apply regardless of situations and circumstances. If we want to say, if we want to put it this way, the only situation or circumstance or whatever factor that can make a difference is hearing, coming to understand better the teaching of the Buddha, because he found the way out of the life as we know it, with its ups and downs. So having the opportunity to come across that teaching and to have it explained in a way that helps make sense of it for us is what can break the cycle. It cannot be done on one's own, by one's own effort. So in terms of situation, just to add that one thing, that the only situation that is important is the opportunity to gain a better understanding of the Buddha's teaching.
Let's see if Ajahn would like to add some words to any of these topics that have been brought up.
What we have heard or talk about is conditioned to understand what is there now. Is that right? Otherwise, it's useless. we talk about many, many things, but what about understanding what is there now? If there's no understanding of what is there, is it any understanding of what we have heard? That's why it's not just to be heard that we are talking about this moment, but what is there in a moment right now? Because we have heard all about the truth of reality. But in order to understand this moment, we need the understanding of what we heard. So what is there now? Begin to understand the truth. It's not in other moment. It's right now. It's there now. That it can be understood right now. Otherwise, if it's not understood right now, how can there be any understanding of what is there in life at all? That's why what we have heard condition the understanding to understand this very moment. What is there now? It proves how much understanding of we have heard. So what is there now? Is there now? And what is there now? The answer is talked about many, many times. But what is there right now? Is it known already or not known yet? We just talk about it on and on and on, just to understand the truth of it right now. So what is there now? Depending on the understanding, to understand it, what is there now? Is it right now? And what is it right now? Otherwise, it's just it. But what is it right now?
Seeing is right now, Ajahn.
So are you seeing or seeing is just seeing?
Seeing is just seeing.
Intellectual understanding?
Yes,
Or
yeah, intellectual understanding.
can it be more understanding?
It can be.
How and when? It's the more understanding of seeing.
Yes.
No way or some way, there must be the way, because it's so true. And if it hasn't been understood, there can never be the letting go of the idea of self at all. So what is it now that you said seeing? But what is seeing? Seeing is seeing, but what is the nature of seeing? It's not just seeing, it's seeing, but what is the characteristic or the nature of that which sees?
Seeing is that which arises, experiences a visible object, and then disappears.
That is still the word seeing arises, right? But what is the truth, the nature of that, which is now sees? The nature of that?
It's a reality.
What is not reality? And what is reality?
Well, my thinking about what we're talking about is the non-reality. The reality is very hard to know without right understanding.
See, without reality, can there be someone is talking?
No, cannot, Ajahn.
So even at moment of speaking, talking right now, what is there? See, that is not just the idea or intellectual understanding, but the truth of that can be realized. Otherwise, it just keep on the word, the term, but not the nature, the true nature. Each different moment, each different realities, conditioned to be different. So even seeing, to be reminded, it's not yet the understanding of the truth of seeing. So seeing is still there. We just say, seeing sees, but I'm seeing when we are talking about seeing sees, is that right?
Yes, Sajan.
This is a certainty of reality. It's not enough just to understand the word about it, but to understand the nature of that as no one, nothing at all. It's just a reality. Nobody can change its nature. And what is the nature of seeing?
The nature of seeing is to see, and then it's impermanent, but it arises to see and then gone.
And what is the reality of seeing?
Now,
Yeah, what is the reality of seeing?
well, I want to say chitta sees.
We use the word chitta, but again, what is chitta? See, not the word, but the nature, the truth, the reality of seeing. And this is pariyati, see, not patipati yet, the first round to understand the truth.
It's almost like the what is reality now? It's chitta, but the understanding that actually really knows seeing is almost beyond words.
But without word, is there seeing?
No, we need the words, Ajahn,
No.
certainly. Otherwise, we don't know what is what.
Is there seeing about any word right now?
Is there seeing about any word?
No. Is there seeing without thinking of any word?
Yes.
So, what is the nature of it? What is the reality of it, which now sees? That is what Buddha taught for 45 years, to really understand it as the first round and the second round. Right there, when it's there, it can be known until it's known the third round. Otherwise, it's useless if there cannot be the understanding of this moment. But Buddha taught about step by step of the development of understanding to realize the truth. That's why he is the Samma Sambuddho. Help the other to understand the truth by teaching about the truth, to be thought about, to be understood more and more until it can condition moment of realizing the truth, which we have heard as it is. It's not just the word or the story of that which arises by conditions and falls away and on, but the truth is that it is as we have heard without any word. Because of the understanding from hearing, considering, to understand that which is there, little by little, until it becomes the Fourth Noble Truth, all four realized. But it needs a path, the very subtle path, to understand this moment. So we talk about whatever we have heard and talk about, just to understand what is there now. Otherwise, it's useless, right?
Yes, Ajahn.
So what is the nature? What is the reality of seeing? Not the term citta. It's not the word, but it's a reality.
It's the reality that experiences this visible object.
It's easy to say that, isn't it?
It's very easy to say it because I don't know what else to say.
That's why Dhamma is so very subtle.
Very, very, very subtle at times.
And this is right understanding. Otherwise, it cannot be known as it is, even thinking, understanding it, even just conventionally, see? But conventional truth that we have learned, condition moment of begin to attend to the nature of that, which is there. When time comes, it's not just hearing the truth of it and then can understand it directly, instantly. But it takes time to understand because are there so many conditions for ignorance and attachment and other reality, but not moment of thinking about what is heard. Even right now, we talk about that, which experiences the object. And while we're talking, it has to be no one, no I, no me, only the reality, which is there, thinking of what is heard, to talk about that which is heard, to understand it a little more. If there's no understanding a little more, can there be any moment of directly understand what is there as it's talked about? See?
No.
So the path is so very subtle. And this is the intellectual understanding of the Four Noble Truths, but not enough yet. It needs more to condition moment of understanding directly when time comes only. When there is understanding of what is there as Dhamma, reality, anatta, no one at all. How can there be anyone when it's there and falls away instantly, never to be found in samsara at all?
And Azita, those moments of seeing which we know must be there, but which have not yet become the object of any level of understanding, they can only be understood when the understanding is ready to do so. As Ajahn says, when time comes. And I don't think we need to be particularly concerned about the fact that although we think it should be so obvious, yet still it hasn't become clear to us, because really nothing much has become clear at the level of direct understanding, even though there is a better conceptual understanding of how things are or must be at the present moment.
I think that's a really important point, Jonathan, because if that's not known, then that intellectual understanding may be taken for a real understanding, like a more in-depth understanding. And I think the emphasis placed on the difference between the two is quite important, just to realize that no, intellectual understanding is not developed understanding.
Or even what I was referring to as conceptual understanding,
Right.
may not even be a level of understanding. It's just a level of comprehension of,
right.
yes.
Right, yeah.
It's a conceptual view of the way things are that is quite different from the conceptual view we had before we came to study the Dhamma.
Right,
And
it's quite different. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And we can also see that that conceptual view is quite consistent with life as we know it.
Yes.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
And from our study of the teachings, we know that it fits with a lot of other things that are contained in the teachings also. But even yet, there's not much in the way of direct understanding to confirm it. But that's just the way things are. So it takes time and it's very gradual. But in the meantime, the conceptual world, that is the world of people and things, is still there. I mean, it never disappears anyway, because that's not the aim of developing understanding, to not to see the world in conceptual terms, but it's the understanding of what underlies that changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is going to take a long time.
I think a very long time, actually. Long time. So thank you. Thanks, John.
And I think that point relates to what Anne brought up last time about the difference between just thinking about seeing or hearing or any realities, and wise considering, which is what we were discussing at the beginning, the listening and attending carefully. That's the wise considering with understanding, at least intellectual understanding about the meaning, rather than just repeating words, which, as you said, it's so easy to do, repeating words and meanings, but actually they're pointing to the truth, the realities to be understood. So this is why it's not enough just to say, oh, it's Chitta that experiences and the Rupa that's experienced. But what about at this very moment? Is there any understanding of the reality of seeing, that reality which has arisen and is seeing what is visible right now, at this very moment? So the wise considering has to get closer and closer to the truth that can be known now. And on Lucy's point about Nibbana and so on, the point is, as I think we also discussed last time when, Zita, you were asking about different kinds of wrong view and the end of life and so on. But it was stressed that no one can stop the next moment arising, moment after moment, life after life, while there are conditions for it. So whatever behavior or practice or wrong idea there might be, life will continue on while there are conditions for it. And earlier, John mentioned Hanika Marana. This refers to the temporary, the momentary death even now. So at this moment, the seeing arises and falls away, the hearing arises and falls away, the thinking arises and falls away. So actually there's death at each moment right now, and end of life, the same, death at every moment.
So just responding to the comment that Lucy has just posted, saying, I'm definitely stuck in the conceptual mind. Well, everyone is. And actually, as I mentioned a moment ago, the idea is not to stop conceptualization, but is to really understand what underlies it. And that's where we're stuck, actually. Because the person who attains enlightenment still has the idea of seeing people and things, but there's no misunderstanding about what that represents, and there's no taking that for being the real things in life. It is appreciated that that's just a conceptualization of the underlying experiences. So let's think not in terms of being stuck in conceptual matters, but unable to appreciate what lies behind it.
We don't have a lot of time left, but Drake, I'm just wondering if there's any topic, any question you wanted to ask anything you wanted to ask today, and
Oh, yes.
John may like to answer.
Thank you very much. I'm so grateful. Well, I just love that idea that everything arises unselected, and it's not a self, because this whole process is happening all by itself. But I don't really understand in depth, and I think maybe you were talking about, Sarah, with that anicca mara, that each Dhamma itself disappears instantly. So that, because there's that phrase, I'd like please to explain, nothing is there, nothing at all, not a person or a thing. It seems like, at one level, it relates to just having wrong perception about, conventional life and living in that reality, and then not being conscious of Dhammas appearing. And so that we're not developing the understanding that leads to letting go. But I also thought maybe, and that's the main thing, it's just like, what does it mean for no thing, or, but also it seems that it may even apply to Dhammas. Like, Dhammas are a reality, but because their nature is so fleeting and impermanent, that it's empty too, in a way, that it's kind of like
So each Dhamma, each reality arises and falls away, and it's empty of any core, empty of any self, empty of any soul, empty of anything. Seeing is just seeing. It's not I or anyone that sees. Thinking is just thinking. It's not I that is stuck in thinking, or I that has the thinking mind, or no I involved at all. Clinging is clinging, not someone that clings, not a thing that clings. And what is seen, just that which is seen now. No thing seen, no one sees. So there are just different impermanent dhammas arising and falling away. Nama dhammas, those dhammas that experience an object, like seeing and attachment and ignorance, and those dhammas that don't experience anything, the rupas, like that which is seen, the visible object, the sound heard, the hardness touched now. Different realities arising, each one gone, never to return again, each one unsatisfactory, not worthy of being a refuge of any kind, even understanding. It just arises for a moment and is gone. It's unsatisfactory. Usually all day, from waking up to going to sleep, there's clinging again and again to what has been seen and heard and tasted and touched, and they've all gone. So it's clinging to nothing, actually, clinging to what has already gone, all through the day, all through life, life after life. So it's only the understanding that can illuminate the truth, that there is just clinging to nothingness, clinging to what is unsatisfactory. And as you say, whatever arises now is unselected. No one can choose what is touched now, what is heard now, because the sound has gone long before there's any thinking about what one would like to hear. The hardness that was touched has gone instantly, long before there's thinking about what kind of hardness one would like to experience. So each reality arises by its particular conditions and is gone instantly. No self to be found at all.
And I just add briefly to that, because I think time is almost running out and Ajahn will want to add something too. But at the same time, dhammas can be related to other dhammas. So the dhammas that we take for the individual are related. The consciousness and the rupas that form the body are dependent on each other. Some of those materiality that we take for the body are conditioned by past karma, and some by temperature. and some by consciousness. So these individual dhammas are also dependent on other dhammas. And what we take, for example, for a table is a lot of solidity that is, for whatever reason, means that the shape of a table is conceptualized when they're seen. So the dhammas are not random and completely isolated from each other. Hence the idea of people and things.
I couldn't hear what you said, Sarah.
Oh, I was just inviting Ajahn to add a few words as we don't have many minutes left. Please go ahead, Ajahn.
So today, we do not forget that what we heard is conditioned to understand what is there as we have heard. Any moment by conditions. Now it's not yet appear as it is. Our right understanding cannot understand the truth of it right now yet. But from hearing again and again and again, it does not forget. We're talking about the truth of each moment to be realized, to be known gradually, little by little, to let go ignorance, no understanding of the truth. So it keeps on being attached to what is there, on and on and on. But can it be known as it is, even ignorance and attachment of what is there in life? That's why the truth is the truth. When there is moment of hearing about the truth, consider that it's right now. For example, seeing is not just in the book or not just that we are talking about, but it's there now, right now, in life, any moment. It's there, the same reality which arises. But the truth of that which is taken for I, because no understanding of that reality, which is conditioned to arise to experience an object. Anytime when it's there, it's live, and it experiences an object. Now it's not known because it arises all the time, experiences that which is now appearing, but no thought about it. Just think about the story of it. But why do we need to understand it, talking about it, to understand that which is hidden? Because we just think about that which is experienced, but not that which experiences every moment of what is there, even thinking. There must be condition for that moment to experience that which is thought about. Is it anatta? Not anyone. If it's not yet, it's still I. We have to learn more of the truth, that it can be known little by little, to understand from the very beginning, to be truthful to the truth. Seeing just arise to see. Whenever it arises, it has to see. It's impossible for seeing not to see. That's why we give the name seeing to the moment when that which experiences the object arises through the idol to experience what is there. This is the truth of it. If we don't talk about it on and on and on, it couldn't be remembered. It's always forgotten, the nature which is there, which is life, experiences whatever is there, each moment. When there is no moment of that which arises to experience, no life at that very moment. But more than that, the details of it, Buddha taught about the details, which is so very, very subtle. That's why I keep on understanding the truth is the truth. And whatever is there is so true, but it's not known as what is the truth of it. Like seeing right now. What is the truth of it? The idea that it arises and now experiences the object, is that enough to let go? The very subtle, hidden, wrong understanding, taking it for I, sitting, liking, experiencing, whatever is there, asava, unknown, until understanding what is there is so very, very subtle. That is moment of letting go, wrong understanding of the truth of what is there, just right now. Little by little, understanding, thinking about it, condition the understanding, the truth, the path to understand what is there. By hearing, considering, not forgetting, until it's strong enough to be second round of Ariya Satya. So now it's just the first round, but not yet the fully understanding of even the first round yet. Because pariyati means the very skillful, very sharp, very clear understanding, even intellectual understanding about what is there now. This is the way to let go of the idea of self, even just a little more understanding. Without it, how can there be the moment of letting go, never to arise again, wrong understanding of what is there, as it has been taken for something in life? สวัสดีค่ะ